Hello and welcome to the podcast, Brothers and Sisters Like These. I'm your host, Brother Emiliano. Today we have with us Shannon Knapp from Heart of Horse Sense. She is the Executive Director and Founder. Shannon, welcome to the show.
Brother Emiliano, thank you so much. Can I call you Brother E? That's a mouthful.
You can, absolutely.
Brother
Yeah,
E.
and I'll call you Sister Shannon.
Okay.
So, Sister Shannon, thank you for coming, and please give us some background into Hor- Heart of a Horse Sense.
Heart of Horse Sense. Yeah.
Thank you.
Horse Sense offers equine assisted therapy and learning. So it is not therapeutic riding, it's therapy and learning. So just like going to an office therapist, except our office is bigger and who's in the office is different. So that's the shortest version I can give you.
Beautiful, love it. And so, how could you describe the mission and the vision of your organization?
So we are dedicated to the mental health and well-being through the horse-human connection. Basically, that's it. Again, the horse-human connection is the relationship that heals, and we do that to improve mental health and well-being.
And how did you become involved with equine therapy?
Through horses. Horse crazy child, horse crazy until I started to I found sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and I started to get in trouble. So then I started to get off the path and then came back and started to fly right. But it was really through working with rescue rehab horses. My husband and I had been working with rescue rehab dogs, like big dogs, dogs with issues, Rotties and pit bulls and shepherds and stuff. And I wanted to do the same thing with horses. So when we moved to Western North Carolina, we decided, and then there happened to be a horse rescue right down the road from us. I thought, well, this is just, be in the right place at the right time, kismet. So that's how I got into it, figuring out how to help a horse from a really rough background is so parallel to helping a human through rough issues that just the synchronicity of the two of them was impossible to not see and impossible to not act on.
From talking to you on other occasions, I think if I remember right, it was something described as maybe a horse that is non-rideable
Yeah.
can still be very useful. And so you saw that lost opportunity or missed opportunity, and you wanted to bridge that gap. Is that a good way to explain?
Yeah, absolutely. The rescue was full of happy, healthy, 8-year-old, unrideable for the rest of their life horses. And these horses were being thrown away as of no value and useless, which A, I thought was really, egotistical and condescending, and B, flat out wrong, because you don't have to ride a horse in order to get the benefit of hanging out with horses and connecting with horses. So yeah, it was a win-win-win. We were able to move horses out of the rescue, give them meaningful, make them meaningful contributors to society and help people at the same time. It could not have been a better win-win-win.
Could you, Sister Shannon, get into a little bit about your origin story
Yeah.
and kind of growing up, any ties with the military or the surrounding areas?
Yep, yep. Well, so I told a little bit on myself when I said sex, drugs, and rock and roll, because I work with trauma survivors and at-risk youth and all different kinds of folks with big T trauma and little T trauma, because I was there too, right? So a lot of my journey is from firsthand experience. As I say, we kind of all get here honestly, and I got here honestly too. Got back into horses after going through college and grad school, and then really the horses were the thing that made the difference for me. I have had satellite relationships with the military since I was wee, in terms of my uncle and family members. I was set to marry one, not two, Air Force Academy. Yeah, guys. One of them passed away suddenly and unexpectedly after a scuba diving accident, and that gave fuel to my fire of self-destruction. And then I met the second Air Force Academy grad, and that brought me back out, but it didn't heal me. Right, so relationships are part of the journey; they're not all of the journey. So after moving here in Western North Carolina with my husband in 2000 was when I really I come from a recovery background. I've never been a veteran. I've never been a first responder. I've never been humanly trafficked, but I do know what it's like to want to kill myself or someone else on a daily basis. And I was on a path to do that. And grace of God, good Lord willing, all that sort of stuff. 26 years clean and sober, and that's my
Congratulations.
story. So that's how I got here. And my horse was the one who said, "All right, sister, back up. You are full of right? You need to take a step back and take a look at yourself because she didn't want anything to do with me because she knew I did not know my own mind and my own heart. And she was absolutely right. So a lot of my journey was about, the bumper sticker that says, be the person your dog thinks you are. I wanted to be the person that my horse needed me to be. And that
Wow.
was honest and direct and truthful and compassionate and kind without being weak, strong without being mean or mad. All of this huge range that she was demanding of me that I didn't have. My range was like this big, right? And she forced me to figure out how to get my window much bigger. What I was able to do and tolerate and be was really, she was the one who pushed it. And I said, yes, ma'am. So that's how I got here.
Excellent. And it's amazing speaking to other nonprofits how nature, animals,
Right.
different types can be so grounding and guiding for us humans
Yeah.
and such motivators for us to better ourselves. So
Yeah.
that's great to hear. Very happy you're here in this area and so doing so well for so much. Um, could you please tell the listeners what your organization offers in terms of classes and healing and learning,
Yeah.
some specific programs?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a series of programs called Stable and Safe, which is available to anybody in Western North Carolina. It's specifically targeted towards those of us who are having trouble adjusting post Helene. Right, we all survived a trauma, and we're all dealing to in better and worse degrees with what happened. So we have a Stable and Safe coming up April 1st, no fooling, from 4 to 6. We also offer Stable and Safe for kind of specific groups. We did one specifically for nonprofit leaders in Western North Carolina. We have other kind of small specific groups that have requested Stable and Safe for them, for their agency or their organization. So Stable and Safe is our response to Helene, really, and supporting the community. We also have a First Responder Mental Health and Wellness Summit coming up the end of April, April 24th, 25th, 26th. The short version of that is 20 years ago, no one knew what 22 a day was. Now you'd be hard pressed to be in a group of people and not have at least a couple of somebodies know what 22 a day is, which means that's the number of veterans that are killing themselves daily. And we know, we meaning you, Brother E, and I, and Brother Al, and all these people in Western North Carolina that are doing amazing work. We know we have the ability to impact the lives of first responders because we impacted the lives of veterans. And the concerns are very, very similar. No trauma is exact, no trauma compares. There's no hierarchy to this, but there's a lot of crossover from veteran trauma and first responder trauma. So we decided that we were going to get loud, just like we did 20 years ago about veteran suicide. We're going to get loud about the mental health and wellness needs of our first responders. So the new stat that I'd like everyone to take to heart is that more firefighters and police officers kill themselves than are die in the line of duty. So that's a number that's not okay.
Absolutely. I remember North Carolina a few years ago was trying to limit under 100 deaths for police officers that were caused other than in the line of duty in terms of shooting or something like that, traffic accidents, stuff that can be avoided.
Yeah.
So it's a real problem, and we've all noticed, especially post Helene, like you've said.
Oh
And it's interesting how a lot of us nonprofits in this area naturally have been inclined to address first responders
yeah.
just organically without
Yeah.
even sitting down at the table.
Yeah.
And we'll be at your event
Yep.
2 days at AB Tech and then at the farm.
Yep.
So we're very excited about offering to more and more people a chance to take care of themselves mentally and physically, but especially mentally because it's still a little bit of a stigma
Oh
and
yeah.
not as addressed as
Yeah.
much. So,
Yeah. Well, and just to round out, so those are some of the kind of coordinated events that we have coming up. The core of our mission and what we do is individual therapy. So, like I said, go into an office with four walls and an overhead fluorescent bulb with someone leaning in asking how that makes you feel is one way to do therapy. It's not the only way to do therapy. The core of what we do is individual therapy. So, we may do that in 1 hour once a week, ongoing. We often and more often are doing it in the form of intensives, which is 3 hours a day, 3 weeks in a row. So, like 3 Mondays in a row, we'll deep dive in, really get some healing and some regulation and some skills on board in a shorter period of time or concentrated time. Um, we also do half day and full day retreats, and we do groups. So, a group that we're really excited about and offering quite a bit is called Whispers with Horses. It's mindfulness, self compassion, and horses. And so everybody knows you're supposed to do this mindful thing, but what does that mean? What do you do? Like, okay, so you taught me how to meditate. Now what do I do when it hits the fan, right? So this is practicing in real time. What does mindfulness mean, and how do I bring it? How do I lift that barbell with the horses in real time? So there's practice time. So it's a 6-week course. We offer one specifically for veterans, another specifically for other survivors of trauma. Our next one is going to be specifically for those who help others, which is kind of a broad net, but those of us in the helping profession, whatever that may be, we have to put on our own oxygen mask sometimes too. So we're going to be doing one of those, uh, and got I mean, on a day like today, whether it's sun shining or raining, it's so nice to be outside of an office and in a natural environment. The therapeutic benefit of the ground underneath your feet and the smell of, I got to tell you, smell of horse poop and the smell of grass and leaves and the wind
Mm.
on your skin, all that stuff, that is where the therapeutic value is really, really different than office therapy. Medication is great, but it ain't going to get you downtown.
Good, very good. Sister Shannon, how have you been impacted as a nonprofit now that we've just passed the 6 month of Storm Helene, the anniversary? How has it impacted you, and how has it changed, at least in the immediate future and now, the way you kind of seek to adapt and serve the areas, the people in this community?
Yeah, so we actually, and this is odd, we were planning that first responder mental health and wellness summit in June of last year. So when Helene happened, we just realized, oh my goodness, this just got bigger, right? This got bigger, this got broader. So we expanded our event to include Helene community crisis responders. But we really ramped up in the same way that we ramped up post COVID or in the midst of COVID, which is we know the requests are going to increase. We had a 75% increase in requests for services post COVID. We're seeing the same thing now. With Helene, we just hit the 6 month mark. There's a celebration in downtown Marshall tonight that I'm going to, and I can't wait to be a part of it, because really making our services easier to connect with without having to make an appointment or pick up a 600-pound phone. You can, RSVP on the website and show up and get some immediate relief, right? Without necessarily having to talk through the trauma. What I say is that if you have a therapist who insists that you talk through the trauma, get another therapist. There's not
Mm.
just one way to do it. Things like Brothers and Sisters Like These, things like Veterans Healing Farm, things like equine therapy are different ways to heal from the things that ail us. So making our services more readily available, making the farm more readily available, whether folks interact with horses or not, is part of what we're wanting to do. And really just being where folks are and offering a little bit of kindness and comfort with horses.
And Sister Shannon, how has Marshall been hit
Hmm.
from the storm? I know it's been very
Yeah, yeah. Downtown Marshall,
impacted.
yeah, was devastated. And our farm, which is 5 miles from downtown Marshall, we didn't even have a downed tree. The way that if you were near the water and if you were in the landslide, you were in harm's way. And so downtown Marshall was devastated. And about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, one of our first downtown stores reopened. And I tell you, I saw the open sign. I pulled over, car's still running. I run in, hug people, cry,
Oh,
buy everything I can find, take pictures, post it on the website because it is, you don't know what you've got until it's gone. You don't have any idea what you've got until it's gone. And downtown Marshall was the glue and still is. Right. So that store opened, Madco Brewing opened for pizza last night. You couldn't get anywhere near. It was so packed. It was wonderful to see. So the rebirth is slow, but it's coming. My favorite post was Zuma, which I believe is like the heart of downtown Marshall. Zuma Coffee posted on Facebook. They said, "We've got windows, y'all." And I'm like, that's so Marshall. They have windows instead of boarded up windows.
it's a
And
big deal.
yeah, they had music, live music the other night. So I'm over
Yeah.
the moon, and I encourage folks to come back to downtown Marshall.
Yes, to support the local businesses
Yeah,
in the area.
yeah,
Well, I'm
absolutely.
very glad that your farm was not impacted because it offers now a real safe haven
Yeah,
for people to gather and kind of try to recover mentally and emotionally from the aftermath of this incredibly traumatic
yeah,
series of events. And now we're dealing with, localized uh, wild fires that are
yeah,
still
yeah,
raging on as we speak. So it's
yeah.
it's it's a very challenging time for residents of Western North Carolina.
And I do want to offer a small disclaimer, though, that a lot of downtown Marshall is still very, very devastated and in ruins. So know that you're going to see both. Know that both are present, both the rebirth and the destruction and the ruins are still all over. And so I will say that's one of the things that folks have said coming out to the farm. Gosh, nothing changed. Nothing has changed. And that's a good thing. Sometimes it's nice to see that nothing changed when in other places everything changed.
It's very true. Well said. How can people get in touch with you for if they want more information or if they want to volunteer, if they want to donate? What are the good ways to get through to you?
I completely forgot to mention volunteering. So yeah, we have volunteer program. Our next volunteer training will start in June. We have a training program. But the website, heartofhorsesense.org, just as it sounds, except horse sense, make sure you spell them both out. There's a lot of S's and N's in there. It can get a little confusing. So horsesense.org, heartofhorsesense.org. My email is shannon@heartofhorsesense.org. We have programs if you're interested in, signing up for therapy or inquiring about therapy or inquiring about one of our groups. You can go to programs@heartofhorsesense.org and our website. We have an events calendar and you can RSVP for all of the things that I've been chatting about. If you're interested in volunteering, also our website, go to the volunteer page. I know, what a shock. And our volunteer coordinator will reach back out to you once we've finalized the dates for our June training. It's a 3-day, 4-hour each day training, 3 Saturdays in a row, usually. And we really like to immerse people both in the service aspect of it and the learning aspect. So, chop wood, carry water, scrub buckets, clean stalls, and really get hands on time with the horses and understand the theory and the practice of what we do. It's not therapeutic riding, which is what most people think when they hear therapy in horses. We're doing straight up counseling with a licensed mental health professional, a horse professional, which is my role and my husband's role. He's very active in the veterans program, as you can imagine. And then also one or more horses. And the interesting, like I said, the side note about the horses is that all of them come from their own rescue rehab backgrounds. So there's a special affinity that doesn't need to be spoken between shared experience. And that is a lot of what people really, really benefit from when they come out to the farm is that connection that's not based on force, fear, and intimidation or how much money you have or what kind of car you drive or how you voted. They just don't care about any of that stuff. And there's no place else in the world where you can get that, in my opinion, except with animals and horses in particular. I love dogs, but dogs are predators, so they'll do some things that are not in their best interest to get enough praise
It's a
recognition.
good point. Well, I'll say from my personal experiences with your programs and your farm, it's interesting to see that many times we come to your location with some kind of personal trauma or, let's say, quote unquote, issue. However, it's also interesting to see that the horses themselves have a past and a history.
Yeah.
And it's not until after you get to understand their side of
Yeah.
what they've been through that you can understand that everybody has a past,
Yep.
but everybody has a future.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful way of letting them know that behind every soul, there's a struggle,
Yeah.
there's a redemption, there's
Yep.
a rebirth, a rebranding.
Yep.
And I found that particularly the way you guys have crafted that experience, I find that
Yeah.
particularly enlightening.
Well, we're honored to do it. We're grateful to do it, and we're honored to do it. And it's a great day at the office.
It is. Well, Sister Shannon, thank you for Heart of Horse Sense and all that you do in this area, especially now more than ever.
Yeah.
Thank you for being our host here at Brothers and Sisters Like These. I look forward to seeing you at the upcoming April event.
Yeah.
And to you, our guest, the last word.
The last word is that there is nothing like the healing and recovery available in Western North Carolina because of organizations like Brothers and Sisters Like These, Veterans Healing Farm, Heart of Horse Sense. This community is unlike any other. And if you're looking to heal from what ails you, this is the place to be. And we look forward to seeing you on the farm.
All right, Sister Shannon, thank you. Very well said. And to our listeners, stay tuned for the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Brother E.
Oh, thank you. Take care.